On today's video, we're going to talk about the red tide. This is a natural process that has been occurring in Southwest Florida for hundreds of years. I'm going to give you guys not so much to scare you. We're not here to spread misinformation or fear. We're here to give you information. What's up, everybody? Welcome to East St. Louis. Not technically East St. Louis. We're not within East St. Louis city limits, but we're within the area of East St. Louis. We're east of the river. Yeah. So it's like the East St. Louis area. Dude, look like his car broke down right here. I just gotta push it off the road. Let me talk to him real quick.
Yeah, but I got a problem because
Let's push it.
I didn't see that. I put it. I'm
Wrong gas.
Yeah.
Wanna push? Wanna help me push? Let's push it. Let's push it, Katie. Grab and grab. He ain't got no idea where he's at, man. Whew. You saw the cop was there earlier? And the cop left. And then the lady came and rear-ended him, even though he was parked.
Oh my God.
St. Louis drivers for you. I saw him, I said, he's not African American, he's Haitian. I seen him since I seen him, I said, he's Haitian. And then good thing you spotted the Florida tags. I was like, yeah, he's a fellow Floridian.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He said he accidentally put the wrong type of gas in it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's gotta suck. Alright guys, so I show you this clip so I can explain something to you. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, you're not helping people after the hurricane. I don't see you handing out cases of water. I don't see you doing anything to help. You're just making money off people's misery. We help people all the time, but when you help somebody, you don't have to put it on the internet for everybody to see it. This is not a place you get out and help a stranger because it's one of the most dangerous places in the country. However, despite the fact it's one of the most dangerous places in the country, I recognize that this guy had Florida tags and he spoke Haitian Creole, and I really put myself in danger in this dangerous part of the country to help a Floridian because I recognized that he was a fellow Floridian like me, and I really risked my safety because, again, this is East St. Louis, one of the most dangerous areas of the country, but I still helped this person who needed help. What I do to help other people, I do it in private, and I live a very comfortable life now thanks to my YouTube channel, and I'm able to help a lot of people thanks to my YouTube channel, but I don't have to go out there and put it out there for everybody to see, okay? September 2017, Hurricane Irma hit Southwest Florida. Many of the locals, including myself, concluded that Hurricane Irma was the cause of the harmful bacteria, aka the red tide, that Southwest Florida experienced that year. While reports were made that septic systems were the leading cause for this problem, I came to the understanding that in Collier County, the electricity was restored after the water, and the sewage in that county works off electrical pumps. Therefore, when we turn the water back on, but did not turn on the electricity, in other words, after Hurricane Irma, the water was restored before the electricity. The sewage, the city sewage line in places like Imperial Golf Course Harbor is one example, which is close to the Cocohatchee River, overflowed, leading to sewage, not from septic tanks, which are sealed units, but from the city sewage. So you had a big cover-up of the situation in Naples, Florida, and Collier County. They turn on the water, but they do not turn on the electricity. Immediately afterwards, the city sewage lines back up because there's no electricity to power the pumps, which led to all that sewage going directly into the Cocohatchee River in North Naples. I saw this with my own two hands, and the month after Hurricane Irma, I was working in Imperial Golf Course community, which was one of the communities that had this situation happen on a massive scale. So this is a situation that I personally saw with my own two eyes. 2018, this region of inland North Naples saw fish dying in the canals far inland in areas adjacent to where this disaster of engineering took place. Both local government and the news were there to cover up or misinform the public about how this situation was related to septic tanks, which are sealed units. However, it originated not with the septic tanks that are sealed, but with the city sewage. Hurricane Irma also brought extensive floodwater to Naples and Lee County, something that Hurricane Ian did not do. It could be possible that the prolonged period of flooding in some areas, water was inside of homes for up to 3 weeks in areas like Bonita Springs off the Imperial River, could have been a contributing factor as well, which is not present with Hurricane Ian. However, the disaster of Hurricane Ian brings new challenges to Southwest Florida's ecology that are very different from those challenges that Hurricane Irma brought. For one, Hurricane Irma did not produce massive amounts of debris and contamination in the waters of Lee County, Florida. However, today, over a month since Hurricane Ian, Lee County is still completely contaminated on a scale far superior to anything that happened during Hurricane Irma. There are still cars and quite literally entire buildings in the Gulf of Mexico now. Don't know the extent of contamination that has been put into the Gulf of Mexico with this hurricane. And not only that, the garbage that is still on land that is leaching into the environment slowly, since cleanup efforts on land in Lee County have not even begun in some places. If we were to have another tropical storm or a large flooding event, and these chemicals and this water that has now set on land were to re-enter the Gulf of Mexico and then be followed up with a period of low oxygen levels, like for example the coming months where in Florida you have only 2 to 3 days of rain, which means that the water levels could be at a very low level of oxygen, could produce very interesting conditions for incredible ecological complications on a level we have not seen yet. The amount of rainwater, the surface sea temperatures, the currents, and many other factors are going to contribute or reduce the risk of harmful toxic algae blooms within the coming months. Human intervention can definitely cause nutrients levels to rise in the ocean through thermal processes like plants, through contamination, or through floods that cause nutrients to enter the water. So human intervention is definitely a cause of the red tide or an agitating factor that multiplies the possibilities of these events taking place. However, fertilizer and sewage are believed to be large contributing factors to the red tide in our recent events. The Gulf of Mexico has had a horrific history with these types of blooms. Let's go back historically to 1916 when a massive fish kill in Southwest Florida caused the air to become toxic. In 1947, Southwest Florida again had a massive bloom that caused massive destruction to the commercial fishery and poisoned the air and coastline and beaches, making people have to evacuate. January 2013, a red bloom appeared in the coast of Sarasota. In 2015, red tide occurs in the Gulf of Mexico in Texas near Padre Island, that's near Corpus Christi. In 2017 and 2018, we had the big blooms that became famous all over the news here in Southwest Florida again. In 2021, a large bloom in Tampa Bay caused extensive fish kills. And now, right after this hurricane, we're experiencing red tide visible in some parts of Sarasota County and it is believed that in Collier and Lee County as well, although the FWC, the Florida Wildlife Conservation, did not do testing for red tide immediately after the hurricane, although it's believed that right after the hurricane would be irrelevant since this is a process that takes a little bit of time. With many processes like oxygen levels in the water, the amount of rainfall we receive, and other factors contributing to whether we'll see a red tide event prolong or not. It is clear that red tide is a natural process that has been reported in Florida as far back as the 1800s. Thus, these events have always existed. But in the case of after Hurricane Irma and in 2021 in the Tampa Bay area, we were able to relate or assume that these damages to the ecological system were agitated and heavily influenced by human contamination, may it be fertilizer, sewage, or other types of contaminants. So in the case of Hurricane Ian, if in fact the human contamination of Hurricane Ian's storm surge were to cause contamination to enter the Gulf of Mexico, and I will tell you, I have never seen the Gulf of Mexico with such low oxygen levels, with such dirty water. So there's definitely potential for some type of ecological situation to unfold. In fact, they're already seeing what they call the flesh-eating bacteria on levels in Lee County, Florida that have never been seen before. And I can personally tell you that I have seen Hurricane Irma. I have seen a lot of ecological things happen down here caused by humans, and that the scale of what Hurricane Ian has done to Lee County's barrier islands is unprecedented. So being an unprecedented event, it is hard to predict to what scale, if to any scale, this contamination will lead to red tide. Whether we have a red tide event or not related to Hurricane Ian, the Gulf of Mexico will not be the same in Southwest Florida for a very long time, because the amount of contamination that has been introduced to the water and the changes to the landscape are unprecedented. Therefore, we really don't know if at all we'll have a red tide event, but I will tell you this: if we do have a red tide event caused by Hurricane Ian, and these human contaminations are part of the agitating factor that prolongs these effects of red tide, then we're going to have one of the most massive events we've ever had with the red tide that will change the way people look at Southwest Florida forever. So I believe that these events are already slowly taking place. There is what's known as a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, adjacent to the Mississippi River, that pretty much encompasses most of Louisiana. A dead zone, by name implies, a region of the Gulf where there really isn't that much life. There's water, but there's no real ecosystem thriving in this landscape of the Gulf. And just like in the past, we've seen local news and other outlets confuse or mislead the public into what's going on. It is definitely possible that already the contamination that we're looking at in Southwest Florida is of just a massive scale that we already have an ecological disaster on our hands. And I'm going to tell you, the reports that I'm getting and phone calls that I'm getting left and right don't look like we have a pretty situation on our hands. Potential complications in Lee County with the removal of debris is a leading cause in the future, if it is not resolved, to some of the most massive leaching events we've ever had in our environment. Lee County's facility does great for their regular garbage removal, but anything of this scale, of this magnitude, is far beyond the capacity of the Buckingham landfill. Now, I've been very critical of this infrastructure flawed of Lee County, where there's no infrastructure for sewage, everybody's on septic. But despite the fact that I'm a huge critic of that, I don't really believe it's going to lead to any ecological problems. Now, in Naples, for example, during Hurricane Irma, all this sewage entering canals and rivers that are going right into the Wiggins Pass and out into the Gulf, yeah, that's definitely a contributing factor, clearly. So you're not looking at the same variable factors with Hurricane Irma as you are with Hurricane Ian. There's so much more that could be different. Is that a narrative is fed to the public, incredible valor, incredible courage, incredible efforts, but when you go to the ground and you actually see what's happening, that's not the reality.